Hey all, Altbeer here. Running a couple minutes late on our weekly stream of the future badge design. I am not sure if any of the badge team is going to make it on. No one yet. But yeah, lots of good stuff so far. So we got lots of updates. Let me just reach out to the badge team and others and see if anyone's going to join. All right, as you can see on the screen here, we got the prototype in and it's working. It has shown us some things that we need to work on to improve for the next version. Still debating if I have time to do a second prototype with the corrections before we go to production. But there's a lot of changes, so I'm hoping I can. But I wanted to kind of finalize the artwork first because the artwork is obviously not done. So, still no response from people, but I at least have one loyal viewer. Thank you. So yeah, we're going to jump in just a minute. Just going to open up some stuff for us to check out. Because honestly, I haven't looked at our crowdfunding campaign today. And I'm curious to see where it's at. And I'll share the results on the screen once I find it. All right. Ooh, we're getting close. Let's share that screen. Display 2. All right. So make this bigger. Yeah, we are at 84% of our goal on the Indiegogo campaign. So it's still open for almost 2 weeks, about 13 days left. If you were thinking about getting one, it looks like the fully assembled badges have sold out, but we do have plenty of kits left. And these shouldn't be too hard to solder. I mean, it's going to take time because there are a lot of components that go on there. And we will review some of those components tonight because some of the changes that we're making will add a few more components as well. So we'll take a look at that. But this is great news, 84%. So we're getting close, almost there. All right, let's go back to looking at our badge. So as you can see, we have lightning effect here. Now, the webcam doesn't seem to do it justice. I have these pulsing very fast to where the blue ones, they look like electricity. It's like zzz. But yeah, on the camera, it's too quick for the camera to pick up that frame rate. So the lightning effect is looking really cool. And we have the flame effect, looks pretty cool as well. And then we have the backlit title area. And then right now, this guy's doing a boop. If you touch him anywhere on here, he just kind of lights everything up. We'll do more with that, but for now, that's what that is. And so we can see we have all of the LEDs there. I think I could just pop this off. Did I bend you? Yes, I did. So here it is without the top on. You can see the different lights. And so yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. I am happy with it. All right, so let's go back to our screen and let's open it up and take a look at what is in the new revision. So, why do I keep losing you? There you are. All right, you go away for now, and let's open up the project. So I had one of my friends, who is also a badge designer, offered to help me out. He goes by True. And he took a look at the project and saw some of the problems that I was having with the power. is the problem is the 9-volt battery was a really bad choice. And for some reason that I can't explain, I'm kind of married to it. I really love the 9-volt in the design. So to get more battery life out of it, we needed to do a voltage regulation circuit. And so this is the new schematic with some updates. So from previous builds, you'll see not much here has changed. All of this is basically the same. The switch over here is the voltage regulation switch. So let's take a look at that. So before we just had an on-off switch for the battery. Now that on-off switch has a transistor here that's also hooked into the battery. But then over here, we have our voltage regulator, which is also powered on that. And what this guy is going to do is take in the 9 volts, and he's going to put out 3.3 volts. And the big change here is you'll notice we're not using the voltage in anymore. We're going directly into the 3.3 because this way we're not having to use the LDO that's on this dev board, which was not very efficient and was going to cause the battery to die a lot sooner than it should. And for those that don't understand the way this works completely, don't feel alone. I did not understand how this thing worked completely until True explained it to me. And basically, this is called a buck converter because it's taking the voltage down, so it's a buck instead of a boost. And the way it takes it down from 9 volts to 3 volts, in layman's terms, is it's going to switch on and off, and it's only going to draw power for a certain percentage of time off the battery versus a constant draw. And so that allows the battery to last longer. Now you'll notice this is one part. Normally with a circuit like this, there's a lot of different components, but True is able to find us a single component that will do most of what we need. We still have to add a couple of capacitors, and like I said, over here there's a transistor, but this is not too many more parts to add, and they're not too complex to solder, so I think this is going to be fine. These connectors here are just the actual connectors that were already in place on the board. I just didn't have them in place, and then I had added an SAO connector, and so as part of the cleanup, it got put on the schematic here as well, so everything's on the schematic. And so without further ado, let us jump into the PCB view and check this out. Oh, hold on. Well, that's loading, it looks like. No. Okay, I thought someone from the badge team joined, but no. All right, so this has a lot more going on as far as ground fill, because that was another thing that True and I were discussing was because of the capacitive touch sensitive plate on the top, to try to insulate that from a lot of the other stuff going around so that it has more accurate touch sensing. You really needed some ground fill behind it, which is what this green area here, this hatch area is. And then as well as ground fill on this, especially since we have a device that has a radio here. So I don't know that it's helping the radio that much because the radio is still going to be sandwiched between two PCBs, but this radio is for short ranges for a person wearing the badge to connect to it, so I'm not too worried about range on this guy. But yeah, we have, let me see if I can make some of these layers go away so we can see the components. Come on, off. And let's get this silk off and off. No, the back is what I wanted off. There we go. So here's our new voltage regulator component. I'm drawing a blank. This guy, he's pretty large, and you see the pads are pretty large when you compare it to like a normal through hole. So even though it's a surface mount component, it should be fairly easy to solder on there. Same thing with this capacitor here. This is a big 1210 capacitor, so lots of room on the pad to be able to easily hand solder that. So you're not going to have to reflow these. You should be able to hand solder all this. And then here's another capacitor here. That's the same size, that 1210. And then this guy here is a capacitor, is a through-hole capacitor. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one more part to the voltage reg, and that's here. There's our transistor. The transistor is actually much smaller than these pads. This allows you nice long pads to be able to easily hand solder it. So that should allow us to hand solder everything without having to worry about anyone not being able to do a surface mount component. So that is how we did that. And then if we put on the copper, so here's our back copper plane, and you can see there's a lot of ground fill on this guy, once again to try to insulate things. And so yeah, if we look at this guy, another thing was on this side. This is the left side where I had like all 4 of them bridged together going to the touchpad. You'll notice that now 3 of them are going to ground and only 1 is going to the touchpad. So that further isolates that touchpad from the things around it. And in the case of this, it means that if you're accidentally touching pins on the side of the badge as you're picking up the badge or whatever, you're not accidentally setting off the touch, because there's less chance of you hitting that 1 pin versus all 4 of them being there. Yeah, you could easily hit it and be a touch. So that was kind of a cool add-on. And then over here, once again looking at this, so we have our actual touch circuit is coming down to the front, and you can see there's a via here. That via is bringing it from the backside here to the front where the actual plate is. If I show you the front copper, we have this. So that's what's connecting it, and then all the rest of these are the ground plane. So it's a big ground fill area behind it. All right, so now let's look at the front, get rid of the back. So the front on here, we have our touch, and oh, I'm just realizing, yeah, this was on the back, wasn't it? Yes, okay, good. Yeah, so for the SAO over here, I forgot to highlight this on the back plane. This is where we have the power, the 3.3 volt power and ground fill. And so basically we have our power coming in here and ground, and this is a power only. We're not doing any kind of the other 4 pins on there, the connectivity. So yeah, there was that. Now we'll get rid of you and go to the back. So yeah, on the front plane on this for copper, all there is that touch. So there shouldn't be anything else around it on the front side of this. And now let's look at this guy on the front, and we can see all of our traces. True cleaned these up very nicely. They don't look as willy-nilly as I had them running all over the place. Looks very professional. I'm very impressed. But yeah, a lot of these ground connectors are just going right into this ground fill area now. So that'll help things. But yeah, it looks really sweet. It really worked out nice for this edit. So I think the only thing left, because I've already reviewed all of this and it looks good. So the only thing that's really left on this is for me to get the artwork finished, and then we can go ahead and proceed to either a production run or a second prototype run if there's time. With this much change, I'm really leaning towards a second prototype run, simply because I want to make sure everything is going to work right before I run like 300 of them. So, but yeah, this is basically where we're at with the copper. I guess we can get rid of the copper planes and put the silk back. So this is, yeah, so this shows you the top silk. That hasn't changed yet. But I'm thinking about moving the building up a little out in this area. That way I have room here. The idea that I'm floating around that I have to try to finalize by tomorrow is if I draw a picture of Doc Brown, like I forget which Back to the Future movie, where he's got the goggles on right after the lightning hits, and he's got a shocked look on his face as the car got hit by lightning. I want to try to work his face looking at the car going into time right there, and then we can move the house up to where it's like in back of Doc Brown. If I can figure out how to squeeze that in there and make that work, I think that would be really cool. And then I have lots of little effects because I don't like this all of this dead space in here. So I'm going to be doing lots of little things in and around here. One of them that I thought of was the book, the sports book that they're all betting with. I'm thinking about having that like opened up and flying away like it got caught in the breeze over here on the side someplace. And I thought a cool thing would be if the book was kind of open and you could see some pages, we could maybe hide a cryptogram in there. That might be fun. So yeah, little things like that. I haven't finalized any of that, but just things to fill in a lot of this dead space and allow me to hide cryptograms like I have been doing on my past few badges. So that way there's a challenge that people can do without having to have it even powered on, just built into the artwork. All right. Let's look at the back silk. Well, first, is there front silk here? Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. See how when True is working and cleaning a lot of this up, he actually went through and made these guys bigger on the front silk for me. I loved the idea of having the pin out to show you, especially with these ones with multiple pins, how the orientation is to plug the pins in. I had them teeny tiny here, and actually let me switch views to the camera and I will show you what that looked like. Actually, I don't know if this is going to work. I may need the microscope. Yeah, it was so tiny it would be very difficult to read, but possible. So I was going to leave it in, even though it was difficult. It was not impossible. Let's see if I can get this microscope powered on. Power. Are you on? All right, let's see. PC camera. Is it working? All right, let's see. I don't know if it's working. It's not liking me. Where are you? I haven't used this in a while, so it could just be that he doesn't want to work. All right, let's see what you are. So you are my UVC camera. And you're that, so this is you. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the microscope working. He doesn't want to play nice. I guess I can try it again. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, I know how we can do this. Let me. We're going to cheat it. Yes, we will do it like this. All right. A camera to a camera since I can't get it working. All right. Angle up. All right. So, very, very tiny before. It took me a long time to get there, but I guess that works. So you can see it was very tiny. So tiny that just looking at it with the naked eye, you're like, there's something there, but I don't know. It's kind of blurry. Can I tell if those are pins or not? And so with the new layout, go back and give up on this stupid microscope camera. So yeah, with the new layout, it's much bigger. I'd say it's about double the size, so that should turn out really nice. And then the other thing that happened was I had some of the LEDs flipped around just to make it easier to trace, at least easier for me to trace. Well, now they're all going the same direction. And True took care of retracing the ones that needed to go that direction. So yeah, they're all going the same way. At least I believe so. Yep. All the same type are going the same way, I'll say. So like these are all pointing that way, flat ends here for all of them. And same thing with this. These guys are all going pointed to the right, but all four of those point the same way. And then these guys all point to the left, but they're all going the same way. So lots of improvements here. Now, one of the other things that we're going to change with this that I haven't done yet is the mouse bites here. So if we look at the mouse bites, actually I want to turn everything off except for that layer. So this was the first time I used mouse bites on a badge, and they worked out really well, but I put way too many of them in here. And so talking it over, I think we the consensus is with the badge team and with True and with some other people that I can remove 3 of these. So if I remove this one and this one and this one, that'll leave us 4, which should be plenty to hold this together. And that will make it easier to break apart and less cleanup when we go to break it apart. So yeah, that'll be another change that has to happen. So yeah, artwork, a couple of minor changes like to the mouse bites, and then we should be ready for a prototype run, a second prototype run. The question is how quick. So for those that don't know about the fab houses and the way they work, doing prototypes can be inexpensive, but you usually have to wait, right? So inexpensive if you're willing to wait 2 to 3 days for them to build it, and another week to 2 weeks to receive it. If you want it fast, let's say even if you don't want to pay the expedited manufacturing, and you're willing to live with 2 to 3 days for manufacturing, but you wanted overnight shipping from China. Well, the last prototype run I had was 10 PCBs, and the shipping alone was $60, and that was for 3-day shipping from China. So if I want this thing quickly, I can get it, but it's probably going to cost me over $100 just to get between 5 and 10 PCBs just for the shipping. So that's why I'm weighing whether it's worth it to do that or not. But I would have to have it fast because the big run of 300, it weighs so much more because PCBs are so heavy that there's no way I would be able to afford expediting shipping on that. So that one we're going to have to wait the normal 7 to 10 days of shipping that it takes for that, just because it's so many pounds that I can't afford to to expedite that, because that could easily be $300 or $400 in expedite fees just for the shipping. So yeah, not gonna do that. So that's why I gotta hurry, get this done, and then we'll test it and get the production run going. But yeah, the only things that I really have to finalize now are the art. And naturally, like a writer who gets stuck on a chapter of a book, other than Doc Brown's head being someplace in here, I'm kind of stuck. I'm struggling for ideas, and I have to try to get it done quickly. So that is the nature of the beast, though. But yeah, it's looking good so far. So I'm happy with it. As far as the actual Indiegogo campaign, once that gets funded, that should allow us to purchase a lot more of the components that we need, although I have laid out quite a bit of money on credit cards for a lot of these components already. I was going to see if I had the actual cost sheets. I don't think I have one up to date, but I might have one that's a week or two old. Let's see. Is this the one? Alright, let's see. Let's pull this over here. Yeah, this is actually almost 2 weeks old now. Not quite. But yeah, so I had at this point spent about almost $2,000 on the badge, and since then I have dropped another $500 on component orders, and we don't even have the ancillary stuff yet, like the packaging and all of the batteries and everything like that. I got some batteries, but yeah, I gotta get lots of stuff. So this is, yeah, I'd say we're probably close to the $3,000 mark as far as what has been spent, and we probably need another 500 or so to get all of the bare minimum stuff. So yeah, so badges are not cheap. That's why I am so excited that the Indiegogo is going so well. And hopefully that can close out soon. That way we can actually start paying off those credit cards. But yeah, the actual badge turned out so well. I am so happy with the way that it worked out with the shining through, because this is the first time I've done like a see-through badge like this before. And yeah, so if you imagine, for those that haven't seen this up close, this is the put together right now. So there's going to be that voltage regulator will go up in this corner, and then we'll have the big capacitor and a little one here, another cap over here, and then up in here will be the little transistor. But other than that, it's all the same components that are on here. So the dev board, the ESP dev board that's on there, I already bought quite a few of those, so they'll all be the same model as the one that I'm testing with. So this should work out pretty good. And then the other difference is where this battery connector is wired directly into voltage in. It's still going to use these same holes, but those holes here, the through holes, are going to be wired into the voltage regulation. So this won't move physically, but it won't be wired into voltage in anymore. So that'll give us a boost in battery power. And I love that these hooks worked out. I was totally guessing at the measurements because, like, this is a number 8 rubber band. It's supposed to be a standard size. I couldn't find anywhere where it explained how big is a number 8 rubber band when it's not stretched out versus when it is. How far can it stretch out? There's no firm numbers out there. So I had to guess about how far to pull it away to where it would have enough tension to hold it in place, that it wouldn't just be loose and fall off of there. So yeah, that was kind of cool. And that goes into my bad decision of using a 9 volt. But I'm sticking with it. I think the 9 volts look cool, so even though it's causing me all this extra pain in the voltage circuit, but I do think this will be my last badge doing a 9 volt battery. First and last. So, and I realize now why. There's a reason you don't see any other badge life out there using 9 volt batteries. This is probably why. So that is about it for tonight's major announcements. Lots of work left to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anyone from the badge team was able to join our voice chat. But yeah, the badge is coming along, and I will send out an update to all of those that actually contributed to the Indiegogo campaign. I'll probably send that update out tomorrow morning. So if you want more details on all of this, you can expect that. And then, as promised, I said at the end of June we would be releasing the GitHub. So that will be next week. So basically a week from tonight, we will be making the GitHub for this project a public GitHub. So right now it is a private project as we're working on it, but since I figure by next week we're a month out from DEF CON, nobody will be able to trump me to building this thing before I can. It would be a safe period to actually release the GitHub, and then people can actually see the code and see some of the files for themselves that are in that. So yeah, kind of a risk, and I'm trusting the community not to screw me over with it. But yeah, so just as an example of what's in there, I can show that real quick. Display. Yeah, so right now we have the art is in there. So we have all of the Adobe Illustrator files as well as the DXS files that I used for building the art on the badge. So if you're into that stuff and you want to see that art that's there, we have the code is Adreno code. This is the code that we're using to run the badge. So it'll have a lot more code going in there over the next few weeks. Then we have the EDA is our actual KiCad project, so that'll all be there. So yeah, it'll be a lot for people to check out. And then this, another reason why I want to make it public next week is the way I do the websites for all of my badges is I use the GitHub pages for that. Well, you can't do a public web page on a private repo. So I can start building out the web page with information once I make it public. So there is a little selfish reason why I would do that as well. But people have been asking for the ability to see some of this stuff ahead of time, I guess, to plan out code before they even get the badge, maybe. That way they can start seeing what we're doing and maybe play with it and have code ready to go once they get a hold of theirs. Yeah, and yeah, so for anyone that like I said, anyone that did pledge the Indiegogo, you should get an update tomorrow on that. And then for anyone that has not yet pledged on Indiegogo, it is open for how many days was it again? Let me go back to that. I think it was 2 weeks, right? Yeah, 13 days. You got 13 days left. There's plenty of kits left available. Yeah, there's like 100 kits left. So feel free to jump in, and anyone that does pledge will, in addition to getting a kit if you get one of these kits, or the badge if you bought that, you could just buy us a drink and you'll get your name as a sponsor on the webpage. So when I stand up that webpage for the badge, you'll be listed if you want to be. It's an opt-in as one of the sponsors of the badge. So your name or handle can go down in infamy with the rest of us. Well, that is about all that I had for tonight. Thank you all for watching, and look forward for updates next week and sooner if we hit our goal before then. All right. Thanks all. Talk to you later.